Ukraine secures LNG imports from Greece for winter. Japanese economy worsens over spat with China. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching World Today. I'm Mohana Priya. The death toll in the Gaza Strip has risen to 266 since the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas came into effect on the 10th of October this year. In the past 72 hours, 17 bodies were brought to Gaza hospitals. This includes 2 new fatalities and 15 bodies recovered from the rubble, with several victims still trapped under the debris or on streets due to challenging rescue conditions. According to health authorities, 3 additional injured people were hospitalized, bringing the number of wounded to 635 people. The overall death toll from Israel's war in Gaza has reached 69,483, with 170,706 others injured since the latest round of the Israel-Hamas conflict erupted on the 7th of October 2023. Meanwhile, the supply of basic necessities and the overall health situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate following Israel's ongoing attacks since 7th October 2023. The Sheikh Radwan Pond in Gaza City, originally designed to collect rainwater, has turned into a sewage reservoir. Residents say its drainage pipes were damaged in attacks by the Israeli regime. The pond now poses a serious health hazard, endangering the lives of nearby residents.
الحرب اللي صارت على قطاع غزة صارت بركة مياه حتى رأيك المياه الملوثة حتى للمجاري. واليوم احنا في المكان بنقدرش نسيطر من الريحة هذه بتقتل كتير وقوية، وثاني حاجة بتسبب أمراضها كتير هذه، والوضع عندنا هنا صعب كتير في قطاع غزة، حتى البنية التحتية عندنا مدمرة كاملة.
Additionally, Gaza municipality warns that the pond now poses serious health risks and is a flooding hazard during heavy rainfall.
السكان وخاصة في هذا الحي المكتظ بالسكان، هذه البركة اليوم تتجمع فيها مياه الأمطار مختلطة بمياه الصرف الصحي مختلطة بالنفايات الصلبة، وبالتالي أصبحت تشكل مكرهة صحية وبالتالي تهدد حياة السكان. في حال طفح هذه البركة فإن المنطقة المحيطة بها مهددة بشكل كبير جدا، قد نشهد انهيارات في المباني السكنية المتضررة بفعل طفح مياه الصرف الصحي المختلطة بمياه الأمطار في المنطقة المحيطة.
Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu declared that part of Gaza controlled by Hamas would be demilitarized at a government meeting in Jerusalem on Sunday, as the first phase of the ceasefire is almost complete. Netanyahu said the issue of demilitarizing the areas of Gaza controlled by Hamas is not negotiable, whether in the 20-point plan or any other proposal. He stressed that territory will be demilitarized and Hamas will be disarmed, either through cooperation or by force. Netanyahu did not specify if the third-party countries or an interim force are expected to operate. Previously, the Israeli-Hamas ceasefire broker, Washington, stated that demilitarization of Gaza would undergo under the supervision of independent monitors. The remarks came as the first phase of the ceasefire nears its end, with only 3 hostages' bodies remaining in Gaza. So far, Hamas has handed over the bodies of 25 Israeli hostages, while Israel has returned 315 bodies of Palestinians. Ukraine has secured U.S. liquefied natural gas (LNG) imports from Greece until March 2026 to cover its winter needs. The deal was signed between Greek gas company DEPA and Ukraine's Naftogaz during Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Athens. Ukraine has resumed gas imports from a pipeline that runs across the Balkan Peninsula to Greece. This aims to secure winter supplies after Russia stepped up strikes on power generation, electricity and gas production facilities in the fourth year of its war on Ukraine.
Компенсувати знищення росіянами нашого власного видобутку. Наші домовленості з Грецією сьогодні – це важлива частина великого енергетичного пакету, який ми підготували на цю зиму, щоб забезпечити Україну газом.
Sunday's deal comes after Athens this month clinched its first long-term deal to supply US LNG to Europe starting in 2030 after the European Union approved a ban on Russian LNG from 2027 over its war in Ukraine.
Αγαπητέ Βολοντίμιρ, οι σχέσεις των χωρών μας αποκτούν τώρα μία επίσης νέα κρίσιμη πτυχή. Αυτή της νέας ασφαλούς ενεργειακής αρτηρίας που χαράσεται από τον νότο προς το βορρά, από την Ελλάδα μέχρι την Ουκρανία. Και αυτό μέσω του υποδιαμόρφωση κάθετου ενεργειακού διαδρόμου και του διασυζητηρίου άξονα Αλεξανδρούπολης-Οδυσσού.
Mitsotakis told the joint news conference with Zelensky that the agreement will also help stop Russian natural gas from entering Europe.
Peralatan elektrik 5 bintang memberikan perkhidmatan 5 bintang. Padamkan komputer untuk lebih penjimatan.
Welcome back. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung met with the country's top business leaders on Sunday following the finalization of a U.S. trade deal that includes South Korea's pledge to invest $350 billion in U.S. strategic sectors. He expressed concerns that domestic investment might shrink as U.S.-bound investments strengthen. Lee, during the meeting, also urged companies to increase their focus on domestic investment. He called on firms to consult with the government to make effective use of the $350 billion investment package for their overseas projects. The U.S. trade deal was finalized on Friday. Samsung Electronics, Hyundai Motor and other major South Korean manufacturers on Sunday unveiled domestic investment plans. Samsung Electronics will add a chip production line at its plant in the South Korean city of Pyeongtaek. Hyundai Motor Group announced domestic investments worth 125.2 trillion won from 2026 to 2030, while shipbuilders Hanwha Ocean and HD Hyundai also outlined investment plans. China's Ministry of Culture and Tourism has issued a solemn reminder urging Chinese tourists to avoid travelling to Japan in the near future. According to the notice, those who are currently in Japan are advised to closely monitor the local security situation, heighten their awareness of safety precautions, and strengthen self-protection measures. In case of emergencies, travellers should promptly contact local police and seek assistance from the Chinese embassy and consulates in Japan. The new notice came after a warning that had been issued by China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Friday. According to the Foreign Ministry's advisory, Japan has seen a notable decline in public safety this year, with frequent incidents involving Chinese citizens. Recently, Japanese Prime Minister made blatantly provocative remarks regarding the Taiwan question, severely damaging the atmosphere for people-to-people exchanges between China and Japan, and posing significant risks to the personal safety and lives of Chinese citizens in Japan. 6 airlines issued notices on Saturday stating that tickets for travel days before 31st December, which involve routes to Japan and meeting relevant conditions, can be refunded or changed free of charge. Japan's economy contracted an annualized 1.8% in the July to September quarter, the first fall in 6 quarters. According to data shown by the Japanese government on Monday, the contraction was largely attributed to a hit of exports from U.S. tariffs. The decline, while not as steep as expected, could complicate the Bank of Japan's plans to raise interest rates further. Analysts are now focusing on how soon the world's fourth largest economy will overcome the tariff impact and rebound. The decrease in gross domestic product was narrower than a median market estimate of 2.5% fall. It followed a revised growth of 2.3% in the previous quarter, when the economy got an extra boost from solid exports that reflected front-loading shipments to the U.S. as Japan's tariff negotiations lingered. Washington formalized a trade agreement with Tokyo in September, implementing a baseline 15% tariff on nearly all Japanese imports, down from the initial 27.5% on autos and a 25% duty threatened for most other goods. Britain's Interior Minister defended plans to drastically reduce protections for refugees and end automatic benefits for asylum seekers, insisting that irregular migration was tearing the country apart. Now, the measures, modelled on Denmark's strict asylum system, aims to stop thousands of migrants from arriving in England from northern France on small boats. The proposals are widely seen as an attempt to counter a hard right surge in popularity. They are likely to be opposed by left-wing lawmakers within Prime Minister Keir Starmer's embattled Labour government, and the Refugee Council charity has already branded them harsh and unnecessary. The centre-right opposition Conservatives also criticised the measures. Presently, those given refugee status have it for 5 years, after which they can apply for indefinite leave to remain and eventually citizenship. The Home Office said it would cut the length of refugee status to 30 months. The British Interior Ministry said the reforms would make it less attractive for irregular migrants to come to Britain and make it easier to remove those already in the country. Coming up next, Australia rejects Turkey offer to co-host next year's COP summit. Australia rejected Turkey's offer to co-host next year's UN Climate Summit, which Canberra is pushing to take place in the city of Adelaide. Both Australia and Turkey are bidding for COP31, and neither is backing down, creating an unwanted distraction at the ongoing negotiations, where Brazil is desperate to show that climate diplomacy still works. A Turkish diplomatic source on Sunday stated that the countries continue to advocate co-presidency model. The host must be chosen by consensus. So unless Australia or Turkey withdraws its bid, or they somehow agree to share the duty, both countries will miss out. That would be unprecedented and would see COP31 hosting rights default to Germany. Australia is bidding to host the summit in the southern city of Adelaide, hoping to draw a spotlight on a part of the world already being hammered by the effects of climate change. But it will also draw scrutiny to the green record of a country that has long profited from fossil fuel exports and treated climate action as a political and economic liability. German Foreign Minister Johann Wadephul visited Sarajevo on Sunday as part of his 3-day tour of Balkan countries aspiring to join the EU. During his stop in the Bosnian capital, Wadephul met with High Representative Christian Schmidt and Chair of the Presidency, Željka Šivadjanović. He reiterated Germany's willingness to support Bosnia's EU integration process. He, however, emphasized that the country must first meet specific requirements to advance its membership bid and is ready to provide further support if needed.
When it comes to Bosnia and Herzegovina's way towards EU, let me be clear. The conditions formulated in October 2022 need to be fulfilled. It is first and foremost about the rule of law and strengthening democracy. Germany stands ready to support Bosnia and Herzegovina's further in this process.
Waterfall's visit to Sarajevo marks the first leg of his Balkans tour, which will include Albania, Kosovo, Serbia, Montenegro and North Macedonia over the next 2 days. Ecuadorian voters appeared poised on Sunday to reject the return of U.S. military bases, according to early referendum results, a damaging blow to Trump-friendly President Daniel Noboa. With more than half the votes counted, about 60% of Ecuadorians had voted no to lifting a long-standing ban on foreign bases. Nearly 14 million Ecuadorians were eligible to cast ballots on whether to overturn a 2008 ban on foreign military bases in the country. The rejection blocks the U.S. military from returning to an airbase at Manta on the Pacific coast, once a hub for Washington's anti-drug operations. It is also a major political blow for Noboa, who has staked his political fortunes on tackling rampant cartel violence and trying to forge an alliance with U.S. President Donald Trump. The vote came against the backdrop of U.S. military airstrikes against alleged drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean and Pacific, a divisive policy that Noboa has backed. Noboa had hoped a new constitution would give him more powers to tackle crime, curb the power of the judiciary, and reform the economy. The early count showed those proposals failing by a large margin too. A large fire erupted at a decommissioned power plant in Texas on Sunday. Firefighters from various nearby towns worked through the morning to get the fire under control. Authorities are urging the public to avoid the area as crews work to contain the blaze. Officials say a large plume of smoke is visible from the scene, and residents are advised to stay clear and limit exposure as a safety precaution. Texas City Police report no injuries at this time. Emergency crews remain on scene and are closely monitoring conditions. Crews are expected to work through the morning to bring the fire under control. Officials say strong coordination among responding agencies is helping them manage the incident and protect nearby communities. Officials also stated that no natural gas or electricity is entering the property, as the plant has been decommissioned since 1990. No information on the cause of the fire was immediately available. Portugal's President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa expressed his solidarity with the family of the victim who died in Albufeira after an 85-year-old British woman was killed during Storm Claudia. A tornado struck in Albufeira in southern Portugal, emergency services said, which damaged and destroyed caravans at a camping area.
Manifestar à família e àqueles que ficaram feridos, mas à família da senhora que faleceu nestas circunstâncias dramáticas, a minha solidariedade.
28 people were injured at a nearby hotel. 2 of them were in a hospital with serious injuries. 2 others had been killed and dozens injured in violent weather brought on by the storm. Rescue workers found the bodies of an elderly couple inside their flooded home. A volcano in Japan's major western island of Kyushu erupted multiple times yesterday, sending a plume of smoke and ash as high as 4.4 kilometers into the air and causing dozens of flight cancellations. The volcano, which is called Sakurajima, is located on the southern tip of Kyushu near the city of Kagoshima. The Japanese Meteorological Agency reported that the initial eruption was the most intense in nearly 13 months. Local media also reported 30 flights in and out of Kagoshima Airport were cancelled because of ashfall and related reasons. Sakurajima is one of Japan's most active volcanoes, and eruptions of varying levels take place on a regular basis. In 2019, it spewed ash as high as 5.5 kilometers. Still to come in sports, Sinner defeats world number 1 Alcaraz to retain ATP Finals title. Italy's Yannick Sinner sent the Turin crowd wild as he battled past Spanish world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz 7-6, 7-5 in the ATP Finals title decider on Sunday to retain his trophy in the season-ending championships. Both players arrived unbeaten, capping a year defined by their rivalry. Alcaraz created the only break point of the first set, but Sinner held on, took the tiebreak and later sealed victory when the Spaniard failed to hold serve late in the second set. Despite missing out on finishing the year as world number 1, Sinner closed 2025 on a high, adding to a season in which he reached all 4 Grand Slam finals and won the Australian Open and Wimbledon. Sinner, who won the Australian Open and Wimbledon this year, arrived in the final on a remarkable indoor hardcourt winning run of 30 matches since losing to Novak Djokovic in the 2023 decider in Turin. Also, the last time the Italian dropped a set in the competition. Sinner's win in Turin earned him a record $5.07 million in prize money. Portugal qualified for the 2026 World Cup on Sunday with a 9-1 hammering of Armenia that included hat-tricks from both Bruno Fernandes and João Neves. The reigning Nations League champions were forced to wait to book an automatic spot after losing 2-0 to Ireland on Thursday in a game where the captain, Cristiano Ronaldo, was sent off. But Roberto Martinez's side needed no help from their all-time top scorer in a one-sided match that assured them top spot in Group F with 13 points, giving Ronaldo the opportunity to play at a record 6th World Cup. Renato Veiga opened the scoring before Armenia briefly equalized, but Portugal quickly regained control through goals from Gonçalo Ramos and a Neves brace. Fernandes' penalty made it 5-1 at halftime. The onslaught continued after the break as Fernandes completed his hat-trick, Neves added his third, and Francisco Conceição struck late to complete the rout. The result secures Portugal's top spot in Group F with 13 points and sets up Ronaldo for a potential record 6th World Cup appearance. Germany's national soccer team was in good spirits during training despite rain and possible nerves ahead of Monday's World Cup qualifier against Slovakia. Nagelsmann said that during Sunday's press conference that the team is focused on being united, perfecting the basics and taking little steps in the right direction. The Germans will qualify automatically for next year's World Cup, co-hosted by Mexico, the United States and Canada, with a win or even a draw as they lead Group A on 12 points ahead of Slovakia on goal difference. The Slovaks beat them in the opening qualifier in Bratislava 2-0 in September. A home defeat on Monday, however, could prove disastrous and send Germany into second place and into a March playoff for a spot in next year's tournament. A prospect Nagelsmann and his team are desperate to avoid. The Germans, 4-time world champions, have set their sights on winning the trophy at the World Cup after their disappointing first-round exits in last 2 editions, their worst record in the history of the tournament. Marco Bezzecchi led from start to finish to take the checkered flag at the MotoGP's season finale at the Valencia Grand Prix on Sunday to give Aprilia back-to-back victories for the first time. Bersama had delivered a commanding lights to flag victory at the Portuguese Grand Prix last weekend, and the Italian repeated his heroics in Valencia, celebrating by getting down on one knee and proposing to his beloved bike. Raul Fernandez of Trackhouse finished second to give Aprilia a 1-2 finish, while Fabio Di Gianantonio of VR46 Racing stole third from KTM's Pedro Acosta at the end to ensure a Ducati bike finished on the podium once again. Now, the circuit Ricardo Tormo was hosting a MotoGP race for the first time since 2023 after last year's season finale was moved due to catastrophic floods in the region that killed more than 200 people. When the lights went out, pole sitter Bezzecchi had a superb launch to take the lead into turn 1 ahead of sprint winner Alex Marquez, while Di Gianantonio was in third. MotoGP champ Marc Marquez took the stage to celebrate his remarkable 2025 title at the season-ending awards show Sunday after the Valencia Grand Prix in Spain. Now, the 32-year-old Marquez, a six-time MotoGP champ whose last title came in 2019, won the title racing for Ducati after years of injuries and a difficult split from Honda in 2023. Marquez, who did not race on Sunday because of injury, clinched his 7th world title with 5 events to spare in Japan in September. He finished the 2025 season with 545 points, well clear of runner-up and brother Alex Marquez, 467, and third-placed Marco Bezzecchi, who won Sunday's Valencia GP to finish 353. Star rookies from across the classes were likewise celebrated in Valencia, as well as constructor and team champions. Moto2, Moto3 and Moto-E champions all made their way to the stage to receive medals for their 2025 achievements. MotoGP capped off a record-breaking year of racing at the end of round 22 in front of a packed audience. The event ended with performer Daddy Yankee closing out the show, which was held at Circuit Ricardo Torno for the first time. And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, Ukraine secures LNG imports from Greece for winter. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and Saluran Berita RTM. Till then, I'm Mohunapriya. Salam Malaysia Madani.